Hello everyone and welcome to today's live stream. We're doing something really nice today. We're going to animate a head turn in Clip Studio Paint. Clip Studio Paint is a little bit new to me, so I'm excited to work with it a little bit more. Even if you're not interested in Clip Studio Paint, I'm gonna walk you through a workflow of how I think animating a head turn works really well. I'm gonna give you tips and tricks on how to do the timing, and you're gonna see how I animate this head turn from beginning to end. I already started a little bit off screen with a little scribble for the character that I wanted to do. I wanted to do a character with an undercut. I was somehow, I guess, inspired by, we've been watching a lot of Star Trek Lower Decks, and I really like Tendi. She's one of my favorite characters in Lower Decks. So yeah, I wanted to do a character that also has an undercut like her. And I was watching some Phineas and Ferb this morning, and I really love the clear shape language in there. So I already did a lot of scribbles trying to find that character, and obviously if this would be a big real project, you would probably do a lot more scribbles. There are a bunch of wonderful people already in the chat. That's so nice. Hello everyone. Hello David Animations, Hilly, Zetsubo, Jack, Ivan. So nice that you are all here this fine day. I hope everybody's doing okay. And that you are being creative, that you are enjoying life. As I said, we're gonna animate a head turn. So I probably should work a little bit more on the character design, because I don't feel like I quite nailed it yet. But I think I'm on a good path. So some things that I already decided for is that for her undercut, I really like the shapes where there's like a little hair waft on top. Actually, let's start with the. If we think about the workflow of how to do a character animation, then this would be the character design phase. Character design. And if you've been following me, you know that I'm a big fan of like this iterative design approach where you like in my case, I already knew what the head shape was gonna be, what head shape I wanted, because it was inspired by the Phineas and Ferb head shapes. But one thing for iterative design that you could do is you could scribble a bunch of different head shapes and see what speaks to you. And then you're like, okay, yeah, I feel like that character feels really round and soft. So you would take that head shape and you would dismiss the other ones. And then you would go on to the next thing that you would focus on. Let's say I have a character and the nose is really important in the character design. So you would keep the head shape, but try a bunch of different noses. And this almost looks like Gru from the Minions, from Despicable Me. And you would go in and try different nose shapes until you're happy with the nose shape. And then you go on to try out different eye shapes, just to see if you can find the eyes that really fit to this character. And eyes are very versatile, and a lot of stuff can be happening with the eyes. The distance of the eyes. What character is this turning out to be? You can obviously try the distance of the eyes, the shape of the eyes. And yeah, this is the iterative design approach, that you try to focus on one thing at a time and you iterate through it. You try new stuff again and again and again. And the cool thing about this way of designing a character is you know where you came from. You know that you decided against this nose for a reason. Whereas if you just take the first character design that came to your mind, then you might regret that later. You might be like, I wish I had tried other noses, or I scribbled and I discovered another nose shape that would fit this character better. So with this approach of trying all kinds of possible shapes for all kinds of different parts of your character, you can be sure that you find the best possible character design. Hizai has a very big question. How do you start your animation when you have an idea? What will be your first step? Well, this could be one of them, character design. Obviously, it depends on how big of an animation we're talking about. If you're just doing a little exercise animation, then what we're doing right now is actually what you should be following. Like if you're just doing like an eye blink or a head turn because you're just doing one of the 51 animation exercises, for example, then you can probably jump right in with thinking about your poses. If this is a short film you're talking about, you should actually spend a lot of time thinking about your short film and your story before you even start animating. There's an exception, like if you want to discover your story through animation, if you want to discover the characters through animation, then, maybe start with a little animation scene or something like that. But generally, if this is for like something bigger, like a short film or a series, you will spend a lot of time first with writing and rewriting and doing animatics and storyboards, just to see what stuff works and what stuff doesn't work. And very often the characters develop while you do a storyboard or an animatic. The characters you will start to feel like that they are making decisions. Like the character doesn't want to do this, it feels right for the character to do that, or it feels right for the character to wear this kind of clothing. So you need to discover a lot about your story and your characters first before you even open the animation software. I would even say like animation should only be like 30% of the whole process. Like the other 70% should be spent fleshing out your story and trying to make it as good as possible. Yeah, but if you're just talking about, hey, I have an idea for a little animation scene, this is basically what you're going to do. Oh, Oreo, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ignore you. I didn't see your first message. Ah, there. Okay, very first message. Yeah, we're gonna continue the Open Toon series later. I just wanted to do something else. And this is an exercise that I've recently done with my students, and I thought it would be fun to do that here on the live stream as well, especially because I think this is something that we can get through today. Yeah, okay, so character design. There are a couple things that I already decided about this character by, doing this kind of iterative process. I think what this is turning out to be is that I really like the shape of her head when it is a circle, a half circle that has like an apex, a peak, a little off center. Like, if we have, this is like the cut through the circle, then I don't want the apex to be here. I want it to be a little bit lower because I thought that looks like a nice little round cheek. And then for the other side of the face, I think I'm gonna want the apex to be higher, and this is probably how we're gonna construct her head. So yeah, this is probably what we're going with. I do like the clear shape language in Phineas and Ferb, as I already said, but I think I wanted to be a little more three-dimensional. Like in Phineas and Ferb, they would like just have like literal half circles and then like have eyes, like just the eyes stuck on top of it and the shape on top of that. Like they would have really, really clear shape languages and really flat. And I think I don't want it to be that flat. So we're gonna have some actual three-dimensional shapes here, and the best way to do that is to draw some lines that help you to feel out how things curve around this surface. Hello, Maria. Nice to see you. Okay, so we're gonna stick the nose on here. We're gonna do the eyes. I'm still kind of changing the eye size now and then. And yeah, and for the hair, I think it's kind of nice to have it relatively like, I think I'm deciding against, like in a lot of them I did the curve downward, like in a swoop coming in like this. I think I'm not gonna do that anymore. I think we're gonna have more of a straight line, like or something like that. Then we have the undercut and the ear relatively small, and yeah, I think this is gonna be what we're working with. This is gonna be the model that we'll be animating. Give her a nice little sweater. Yeah, something like that. Maria's complaining about the weather. Yeah. It's getting cold now. Actually, we had some really warm days, like surprisingly warm days for November here in Germany, and now all of a sudden it's super, super cold and wet. Not the greatest. Okay, so I think we got the character design. This is okay. It's always good to spend some time with this and with this and, you know, really work out what your character is going to look like, so your character doesn't morph during the animation process, because during the animation process you will have new ideas, and that's always the problem. If you haven't explored your character sufficiently before, then you will always find new things, and this will cause your character to morph over the course of the animation. That's something that happens to me all the time, even if I went through a character design phase. You know, sometimes you have new ideas, or like it naturally shapes, it naturally changes. Like for example, where the peak of a curvature is, or something. There's sometimes you need to pay very close attention to not have it morph. Okay, so with character design done, we gonna move into thumbnailing, which, you know, we kind of were already doing. We were doing a lot of possible little poses. And, you know, thumbnailing is called thumbnailing because it should be a very small drawing, so you're not tempted to refine it too much. So it should be relatively small. But, you know, the interesting thing is that now during the thumbnailing, this is kind of like dipping into posing, which is the step that comes right after. Like, these are connected. We are doing posing through thumbnailing. We're trying to find the poses, which also means it's a good idea to now think about acting. And that is something that, especially when somebody does the 51 animation exercises, they often forget about. Because, I mean, maybe this is also a little bit of fault of how the 51 exercises are phrased, and specifically the head turn exercise is phrased. But personally, I think for every exercise, you should think about how to breathe life into the character. With regard to a head turn, this means what is the character doing before? Then why the turn? Why would the character turn? We don't do anything without a reason. There should be a reason. There should be a loud noise or something. The character being called. Something that causes the character to turn. Maybe they want to have a look around. It doesn't have to be an external force. It can also come from their inside. But yeah, that is definitely the most important thing for a head turn. And then reaction after. Yeah, true. The 51 exercises are a lot about, just keeping the volume while you turn the character. But the thing is, what always baffles me, if I see some of the people doing the 51 animation exercises, if neither is done good. Like, if the drawing, like if there's even no construction going on, like a lot of times, but I guess that's something that you have to learn when you just start out, that you should construct your shapes, that you should really think about how is your shape language, how are your shapes built up. And for this head turn exercise, I see a lot of like, okay, there's a square, a square or round head. Usually it's a circle, and then there's some ice on there, and then they just do the head turn with that. And there's like no volume being kept, no realistic drawing in there. And additionally, the character doesn't have a completely empty head. Nothing is going on inside that character's brain. So yeah, I think we kind of need to give a hint, I guess, in the 51 animation exercises a little bit more, that you should be either thinking about constructing the volume very carefully, or think about reasons why the character is turning their head. And the interesting thing is, I think putting in acting, putting in emotion and thoughts of the character is a little bit of cheating, because if you do that well, it doesn't matter if your drawing is a little bit sloppy. It doesn't matter if the volume shifts or shape, at least not as much, because if you can read an emotion, if you can connect with that character, that animation will feel a lot more satisfied. So yeah, if anyone out here is doing animation for the first time and you're not so sure about your drawing skills yet, you're still learning and practicing your drawing skills, which is totally fine, then especially I would recommend also focusing on the acting, because it can really lift this whole exercise onto a new level. But yeah. Yeah, Maria mentions it too. Why do they turn their head? Super important. So in our case, to shorten this a little bit, I think she's like just bored at the beginning, maybe just sitting somewhere waiting for someone, and she's waiting for her best friend, and then her best friend is calling out to her. Or you know what? Just the door opens, and then she turns the head and sees that it's her best friend. Because that will put in an extra step. We're gonna talk about that in a little bit. Okay, so thumbnailing for the first pose. would be okay. She's just waiting, so probably her head has dipped down a little bit, like she's not trying to look at something in particular, just sitting there and waiting. Now, okay, so what is this character's default demeanor? Like, does she always seems like bored, annoyed? I think that's not too bad. There's a little bit of three-dimensional head tilt towards the back happening. I kind of like that. So let's strengthen that. So if we trace the underline of her head, it would be kind of like this. And if you could see through the shape, you would see that the top of that shape, the top of her head, is behind, which could mean that the undercut is seen from below. And the ear would be a little bit higher than it usually would be. Okay, so let's do this a little bit. We're kind of already moving way beyond thumbnailing if we're really thinking about the 3D shapes now. Like, you don't necessarily have to do that yet. I guess if we tilt her head very much up, the ear is actually going down. I think I said that wrong. Okay, let's play with that facial expression. So we can either like really halve the eyes, like have the eyes just cut off, or we can have the eye shape in full and then put the eyelids in, which generally feels a little more feminine. Just getting a little too slim. Okay. So I think that's a decent start. We can refine this a little bit more later. For now, I think this is a decent thumbnail. Then the next storytelling key, let's write that down because it's actually important. So right now we're thinking about the storytelling beats, the storytelling keys. And I think storytelling keys, that's what Richard Williams uses in the Animator Survival Kit. But I think it's also acting beats. Acting beats. Because sometimes it's not just about the story, it's just beats that you need to understand the acting or the action. So acting / action beats, I guess. And in our case, those would be the start, which is waiting, bored, then door opening. She reacts to the noise of the door. So for that, this is where the actual head turn happens. And what is she doing? She's looking in anticipation. because she kind of does expect her friend to come in. I mean, we could decide that. Does she expect her friend to come in? In any case, I want to have a third one after that. Like, a lot of head turns, they only have the character going from, like, position 1 to position B. Most of the time, impulses... most of the time, processes in the brain happen a little bit slower. So if we turned our head, because we heard, like, the door opening... our face is more like, you know, it's not like immediately like, oh, hey, it's you. It's more like I turn, oh, hey, it's you. You know, there's a little bit of a step-by-step process happening. There's like just the reaction to the door, and it's like, ah, yeah, you made it. You brought groceries. You brought pizza. I don't know. Like, there are very often multiple steps to actions, and the head turn is no exception. There could also be one before, like there could, before the head turn, there could actually be the noise of the door, the character like is scared or is like surprised and goes like, huh? And then turns their head, you know, so even there, before we turn the head, there could also be like a little bit of a beat there, a moment there that helps to characterize the character and how the character's dealing with the situation. So yeah, she goes from waiting, being bored, looking around in anticipation, and then being like, oh hey, it's you, nice to see you. So she would be more like, hey, cool that you made it. So these are our 3 beats. Those are poses that we definitely know that we are going to need them. So the next one that we're working on would be the one where she heard, like, if you think about it, it's always one after the other. It's always hearing the noise and then turning, because, you know, the noise has to start first. We don't turn our head at the same time as we hear the door opening. There's like a little bit of a delay. There's like, and then we look around. But that could be like a minor pose. Okay. So the next one would be looking around. Okay, so apex down here, apex up here. And I guess what we could play with is how... Let's go back to the first pose, actually, because we could set up a little bit of contrast. We could show her first pose in full profile. You know, the question is, how does her face look in full profile? And what does that do with the eye? So, you know, there are a lot of animation styles where the shape of the eye would still be the same even in the side view, but this is not how eyes actually look from the side. Like, you know, if you have like a realistic eye shape, then it would be more like this from when you're looking at it. And when you're looking at the side view, eyes don't look like that. You know, eyes don't, you don't just shift them over. They do look like this. So very, very different. So the question is if that is also the case in our style, if when we see the character from the side, we're gonna do something like this. I kind of like it. Okay, so the ear would be very far in the body. Oh, and I wanted the big peak to be here and the smaller peak to be on top. So maybe something like that. New YouTube subscriber, welcome, Blue May. Push Pender asks how to draw a cartoon body from every angle. Well, you know, first you have to learn how to draw a realistic body from every angle. And a cartoon body is an exaggeration of the realistic body. So, you know, it's two skills. It's constructing the shape from different forms, from different basic, ideally three-dimensional shapes. And that is something that you learn very well from, you know, learning anatomy and learning how to draw realistic humans. And then the next step would be to learn abstraction and how to construct cartoons from that knowledge of the realistic human form. And that will make, like, if you learn it in that order, it will be a lot easier to draw the cartoon character from different angles, because you know, okay, a realistic character would look like this from this angle, and how do I use reduction and abstraction to turn that into my cartoon? I like this. That's kind of nice. I don't think I want her. Oh yeah, I already broke like my own rules. I don't want to have that lump down here. I want it up there. It's much better. Same here. Yeah, that looks more like it. Orio's asking, as you already used both, what do you suggest, Clip Studio Paint or OpenToons? Well, first of all, I think it's a little bit of an unfair comparison because Clip Studio Paint, in some regards, has a different focus than OpenToons. So, you know, OpenToons has done great progress with stuff like the brushes and the things that you can do in terms of digital painting and stuff. But Clip Studio Paint, I feel like they have just so many tools, so many also, like, you know, pre-made stuff built into it that assist you so much with digital painting, like to actually create paintings. So if digital painting is what you want to do, I would probably prefer Clip Studio Paint. It does also cost money, you know, that's the other aspect. OpenToonz is free, and it's amazing that it's free. And the animation tools in Clip Studio Paint, from what I've seen, there is some amazing stuff in there, and some things are borrowed from like a traditional animation workflow. The light table tool is kind of interesting. I guess OpenToonz has a similar thing. I don't know, like function-wise, they seem to be really similar. I did have to work in Clip Studio Paint with the settings a little bit to really figure out the settings that my animation would play fluently, and that's kind of a thing that really bothered me, that the animation wasn't playing fluently right off the bat. Like, I feel like that is kind of not good for Clip Studio Paint. That doesn't make me confident in terms of, you know, am I seeing the animation in real time? Short answer is I think I still have to animate a little bit more in Clip Studio Paint. If you have Clip Studio Paint, I think it's definitely a good idea to give it a try. Random Animator asked, why is one bold? Yeah, just because I, for some reason, gave up drawing that one. I guess because I was interested in a different aspect of the animation, of the pose. Yeah, I think this is better. Flat here. Yeah, I think the side pose is gonna work. We're gonna make it work. We're gonna figure it out. She looks a little bit sad here. Kinda interesting. How to build the cartoon art style for an animation series or video? Well, you do a lot of research of styles that you like, things that inspire you. You know, sometimes the subject of a film changes how you gonna, what art style you want to have. You know, if you think about like the animation film Secret of Kells, that's heavily inspired by Celtic art because it makes sense for the culture that is portrayed in this animation film. So they researched a lot of Celtic art, and you know, maybe you want something that feels very very real, and like, you know, like Superman, and you want there to be realistic muscles, and you want the fights and stuff to feel really heavy, then you would probably research more about these kinds of art styles. Yeah, from all this input, all this research, you would take bits and pieces and say like, okay, I want my characters to look like that. I want it to be that realistic or that abstract. And then you build your influences and your input piece by piece, and you start experimenting, drawing your characters in that style, and then maybe in a different style. I think this is gonna be our first. This is gonna be our first pose. Not so happy with this one yet. Got to look at some of the drawings that we did. I still like one of the very first one. That's very rare that I right off the bat like one of the first drawings. Do like that aura that this character has. You know, and then it's basically iterative design to find the art style for your animation. Basically what I said in the beginning, you try different things and see what sticks. See what things feel right. I know that's always an annoying answer to be like, okay, find what feels right, but very often that's what people do. Just try so many different things and then decide for what fits to your vision, what fits to the feeling that you want to create. I feel like this is too strong of a lean. That is too strong of a lean. I do like that one. I do like her leading. Leading with the head like this. This bean potato shape of her head. I'm gonna regret that. Those shapes are really difficult to keep consistent because, you know, if you really carefully construct it, you could be like, okay, I have a circle, a perfect circle, and then at the half of the circle there is like this oval stuck on top of it. But we don't have that for her. I mean, I guess we could try to find a rule. I think her, like, the base circle would be like So we would have this shape to give us the rounded cheek, and then this shape to give us the bump on the other side of the head. And then the nose would be here. It's a little bit further up than I have it in the other drawing. Potato head. Yeah. So many characters could be potatoes. Not the worst. A little chubbier. But, you know, ovals is always like, if you construct a character from ovals, you know, an oval could be this, or it could be this. You know, it gets really difficult. But, you know, that's why ultimately you have a model sheet of the character. Okay, I guess we can work with, you know, the eyes on the half. That's always a good bet. Yeah, I like that more when her facial features are a little bit more lower. How does Dominator look from wander over yonder. Okay, lots of fan art. Oh my god. Okay, so she also has the rounding down here and then the other rounding up here. Thicker neck. Alright. Interesting. Ah, okay. Question is, I want to learn pre-production of 2D cartoon movies, but it isn't available on YouTube. Which website to learn and watch pre-production of cartoon movies? Well, first of all, you know, the old school DVD extras, that's like getting less and less nowadays. Like, I guess on Blu-rays they still have them? I don't know, I haven't bought a Blu-ray in a while. But, you know, they very often give like the marketing version of the behind the scenes, but it's very, very cool to see the production steps from behind the scenes material. So yeah, that's one thing that I can recommend. I guess there are like Disney Plus started doing that, where they have they not only have the movie, but they also have like a documentary about making the movie. The problem with these is that they are still marketing material. They don't tell the whole truth. So what I can actually recommend is, you know, now where this is more and more possible, to go to like film festivals and have people tell you about the production of their short films. Actually, there's not very much television there on these kinds of events, but, you know, for example, at the FMX conference in Germany, they would also talk about the pre-production of Disney films and big blockbusters, and sometimes they would talk a little bit more. What is this? This is completely different. This is not our character. Sometimes, you know, they would, especially if there are no recording devices allowed in the presentation, they will be a little bit more honest than they could ever be in a DVD or Blu-ray thing, and that's a really good place to learn. Hilly says there was a documentary about Emperor's New Groove making and retooling that Disney tried to bury. Yeah, Emperor's New Groove must have been hell. They changed the story. Like, I only heard the story, I've not seen the documentary. But the Emperor's New Groove ended up being completely different. And it was an entirely different style of film in the beginning, and a lot of people had, you know, stakes in there and put a lot of sweat and tears into the other version of the movie, but then it became that lighter comedic version, and yeah, that was a really tough fight. I really have to watch that documentary. I can't imagine that Disney tried to bury it. Although I am so surprised, like, I saw some snippets from the Frozen 2 documentary on Disney Plus, the official documentary, and there was a producer saying, like, months before the release of the movie, it's like, oh, this movie is not coming together, but we have a deadline, and, you know, we have always hit our deadline here at Disney, and you can really hear, like, the corporate sharks sitting in his neck being like, we have to publish the movie for Christmas or whatever, because, you know, kids want to buy Christmas or should buy Christmas toys and stuff like that. And yeah, and you feel that in the movie Frozen 2. I don't think are there Frozen 2 fans here? I hate the whole Frozen franchise because it has so much undeserved success. I think the first one, Frozen 1, is okay, but it's not like highest grossing animation film of all time. And then Frozen 2, a cobbled together mess, surpasses that. It is now the highest grossing animation film of all time. Like, why do we even bother trying to make stories that fit together perfectly if a cobbled mess can become the highest grossing animation film of all time? I'm getting off track here. We're talking about how to learn production. So how to learn production. Basically, one of the things that you can do is start producing films. Work together with other animators if you don't want to be the animator yourself, or be the animator yourself and try to have a really well planned out production. Yeah, so learning by doing would be one thing. And then there's the other version of learning by doing, which is you can study it. You can study production. And yeah, at the Film Academy Baden-Württemberg, where I studied in Germany, when we did projects, we had a producer working with us, helping us with the production and workflow kind of side. Yeah, sometimes you would find yourself in teams. You would like find somebody who's a really good character designer and work with them on the character design. You would maybe ask somebody who's studying screenwriting to go over your dialogues or your story structure and stuff like that. So in this simulated university environment, you would simulate a real film production. And if you're really serious about learning producing and getting a lot of experience in pre-production, then a university might be a good place to do that. Like, inform yourself how these universities do their projects, if they do that in big teams, if they have production specific lectures and stuff like that. Maria only has seen the first Frozen movie, felt they had some very interesting ideas. The script needed another pass or three, and some more courage. That like, the first Frozen made me mad because it was so close. It had so many good ideas. If it would have pieced them all together, this could have been an unforgettable movie. Could have been an even, you know, like an objectively really, 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 really good movie. Yeah, and then with Frozen 2, I feel like the same thing. They did have a couple good ideas. They did have a couple good jokes. But, yeah. Ooh, I didn't hear about that story, Healy. Katzenberg was trying to mess with Toy Story. Oh, no. Yeah. There are a few stories, like, you know, the Black Cauldron is one of those buried movies. Okay, so I think we're getting closer with that one. I think this is gonna be the second pose. This is gonna be A, this is gonna be B. And now for the one where she actually recognizes the friend. What we already have here is we have like a reversal, like we have a slouched over body, and we have the head being tilted in that direction. And then here we have the head tilted to the right, and she should straighten up her back a lot more. So we already do have some contrast in here. And now I think all we have to do is push that. But, you know, maybe we push it so far that her head is already leaning back. Like, here I feel like the head needs to be leaned forward. Maybe even a little more leaned forward than we have it right now. Let's try that. Just... Oh boy, concept is so annoying. Like, rotating in this app is so... Yeah, I think this is good though. Okay. So now she could be pushing out even more, but in doing that, leaning back the rest of the leaning back the head. And going like, hey, you made it. You know, maybe slightly adjusting the eyes. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. So with that being said, with those poses constructed, I think we can go into the software. Because we got the storytelling beats done. And now we have to put them into the software. And the way how I would recommend this is just putting them one after the other without thinking about timing. And then we're going to think about strengthening the poses, getting the best possible, strongest pose, and only then we will think about timing. Yeah, but before we do that, let's take a quick break. I'll be right back in a couple minutes. And yeah, then we dive into... the posing, putting the poses into Clip Studio Paint. Alright, so be right back. All right, and welcome back. Okay, so we're gonna put the poses into Clip Studio Paint, and I prefer working on a vector layer, as some of you might already know from other animation software. I'm a big friend of the vector layer OpenToons as well. So the first layer that if you create an animation project, you know, just with frame, let's do it fresh. So file, new, I'm creating a new animation project. I want this to be in full HD, 1920 times 1080 pixels, and the frame rate's gonna be 24 frames per second. Wonderful. Title the save area. I like to put that in because it keeps me from you know, drawing too close to the frame, I guess, to the edge of the frame. And now that we've done that, we can see that the layer that is populated in the animation folder here is actually just a normal raster level. I don't want that, so I delete the layer. And I'm gonna create a new vector layer, which it immediately labels number 1 and puts it into the timeline. If it's not in the timeline, you can put cells that are being collected here in the layers panel. You can put them in by going to a moment in your timeline, clicking on that icon, specify cells, and then you can say like, hey, I want layer number 1 to be shown at this point in the timeline. So this is very similar to how the level works in OpenToons. It just collects them here in layers instead of like an extra level panel. It's using the normal layer that Clip Studio Paint otherwise uses as, you know, actual layers. This kind of is not my favorite stuff for an animation software. An animation software that puts single frames in layers is not always my preferred way of working. I really don't like Photoshop, animating Photoshop for that reason, because it's so layer centric and the animation tools are just put on top of it. But somehow I feel like Clip Studio Paint solved this really well. Okay, so on frame 1, we're gonna put in the first drawing, which go in is this one here. That is our beat number 1. Josh Pender is saying, please make videos on compositing and highlights in After Effects. Yeah, eventually we're definitely going to hit that too. Hilly says, someday those 10 or so minutes of lost Black Cauldron footage will be found and we'll get that R-rated Black Cauldron movie we deserve. I don't even remember Black Cauldron. Like, maybe I've only seen clips, because in my head it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, I couldn't piece together a story. But, you know, that might be because there are some scenes missing. Okay, is my microphone clipping? Is it getting a little bit too loud sometimes? I'm gonna put concept in the background here. Put it here so you can see it as well. You know, I do have a second screen, but if I use that, you cannot see what I'm referring to. I could probably still optimize the way how I have the Clip Studio Paint interface. But yeah, for now it's gonna be like this. Still trying to find the shape. Do want it to feel more three-dimensional. question is how thin her neck is. Hilly says, Black Cauldron and Land Before Time were both famous for having lots of footage lost due to being too scary for kids. It's just too bad if you know, don't no longer understand the story. Like, that's like the worst way of cutting footage. But yeah, I mean, I understand that too. It's always so interesting, like, what scares and doesn't scare kids. I think sometimes adults are very bad in judging that. Sometimes kids are scared by things where I'm like, I wouldn't have guessed that this is scary for kids. And sometimes you can actually show them something that is pretty scary and they know pretty well how to deal with it. And you know, I think something that we also shouldn't forget is that they also have to learn with how to deal with scary things. I mean, the first time you're watching a scary movie is of course scary because you have to learn how to deal with this kind of input. One of my favorite Terry Pratchett quotes is when Terry Pratchett was asked about how was the story again? So Terry Pratchett was asked if it's responsible to tell children stories about monsters and claiming that monsters exist. And Terry Pratchett said, well, kids know that monsters exist. Stories tell them that the monsters can be beaten. And I think that's such a good sentiment, such a good approach to it. Like, with storytelling, it's not our job to keep kids safe from uncomfortable stories. It's important to tell kids uncomfortable stories and then show them how those uncomfortable situations are being resolved, how things can be made better, how evil can be overcome. Yeah, I might have butchered the quote here, but yeah, Maria, that's a really good point. Scary stories are an opportunity between parent and child to discuss things. My nephew wasn't scared of the Jack Palance Dracula because I told him the backstory to that version, and he felt bad for poor Dracula. Yeah, and that's how perspective can help and change things. So that's pretty cool. Oh. I always get a heart attack when this thing is freezing. I'm always like, it's so, like, especially during live streams, the computer is so sensitive and sometimes just crashes for seemingly no reason. And you know, fortunately we're at the very beginning of this animation, but I definitely should save soon. I think the lines could be a bit thicker. We're gonna have to clean that up when we get to clean up. I do like her ear to be a little bit angled, like to not just have the half circle like so, but to have it be a little bit pointier. The drawing tools do feel a little bit different than they did in concept. Yeah, maybe have her look up a little bit more. I feel like that feels like more bored to have like this unfocused kind of look. And that curve for the hair. It's important to get right here. Okay. We're getting there. Let's use the lasso tool to turn this just a couple of the lines. So scale and rotate, there we go. Yeah, I wanted it to be more like this. Okay. Okay. I think we're actually getting there. Let's save before the program actually crashes. I think the hair could be a little more. Maybe it really is an S-curve like that. Okay. There you have it. Even with so much time spent for the character design of this character, just for a practice doesn't suffice. It's not enough yet. Okay, so the next pose is... Yeah. Ah, come on. This one. And gonna put in a new animation cell and it automatically labels it 2. So now that she's sitting upright, she's probably taller. And because she's facing us, I think the volume of her body shape could become wider in total. And let's have a straight line here. More straight line on this side and more diagonal line on the other one. I'm still just trying to find the shape. Not enough research in this character design. Let's make sure I can see your comments and stuff. Yeah, we'll go. Center line be here. With the curvature of the 3D, it's gonna work with this. I guess from a potato, the shape turned more into like a bean shape. Let's find the center line. Yeah, I think tilted down like this is quite nice. I do like the tilt. Okay. I do like that her hair shape kind of stays the same from all angles. It's like Mickey Mouse ears. Okay, let's cut out the head and try a couple different leans. I totally messed up the head tilt. I was supposed to just lean her head forward like that. Yeah, that's not bad. But that kind of messes up the flow. Let's see if we can find the flow again for these lines. I think her head would be wider in general. Okay. Oreo says, Ferdinand, would you please make more videos or lives like this one? These are really, really helpful. I'm glad to hear that, because like I kind of feel like, you know, now it's getting to the part where it's difficult to talk while I'm doing this. But I'm very glad to hear that it is still helpful. Can I not disproportionately scale this? Transform edges. Keep aspect ratio. Because I do want to have her face wider. Hello, Blood Studio. Okay, not quite happy with her hair. Okay, getting there. All right. And then last, we have the one where she leans back, recognizing her friend to be here. Gonna add another drawing right after this one. So 1, 2, 3 is right now our where we have the drawings placed. Maybe setting down a little bit. We're gonna see about the collar later. Okay, so it's more like, hey you, finally. I think I want to bring in a little bit of a perspective, so we see the underside of her nose. And maybe the friend is a little bit more in front of her. Okay. Let's make sure we see, like, we should be seeing the underside of her chin. That's a little bit difficult in this style to evoke that impression, but I think we can do that by extending that line a little bit. It might feel a little bit more like her chin is being right there. Finally I'm getting a little bit into the flow with her hair. Okay, flipping through. Oh. Did it change the setting again? As I said earlier, I had the problem with Clip Studio Paint showing stuff fluently. So play in real time and prefer speed is definitely what you want to activate, because if you don't activate play in real time and prefer speed, Clip Studio Paint is going to play the animation slower than you actually animated it, and you'll be wondering why your animation doesn't look right. Okay, let's move her head away from the collar. Oh, I maybe should not click on cancel if I want my changes to have an effect. Okay. All right. Like I want to work on this curve here. Do we want her cheek, like the curve of her cheek, to be a little further down? That would make her more chubby. Or a little more up? I think I like it a little more up. I'm good, Blood Studio. Thank you for asking. How are you? Okay. That's great to hear. Okay, so if we have the teeth curve a little bit inwards, it will look a little bit more like we're actually looking up at her. Maybe this was a little bit too much. Oh. Why does it freeze up? Maybe it does auto saves. Okay. I do like that we made it sufficiently flashy and 3D. The ear is not quite the same shape here. Sorry, I'm talking so much less now that I focus so much on these poses. Let's make the hair a little bit longer. Actually, a bit more flat on this one. This could be a little more flat too, as we're looking up. Okay. So, that concludes our key poses. Thank you, Final Shot Cartoon Network. That's great to hear. Okay. Then I guess we're gonna go to the next phase. We're going to do... we're going to do the extremes. And extremes are the point before a change in direction occurs. And this is the case for anticipations and overshoots. If you think about a jump, and let's just say we have like this famous ball with legs here, and we're going to animate a jump. There's an anticipation where the ball curls up, and this is the lowest point of that motion. After that lowest point, the direction reverses, so we have the actual jump. You know, that would be the equivalent of the storytelling keys. And then when we come down from the jump, we have an overshoot where it is going down further than its standing position is, and then we're going into the standing position. So these points are before a reversal in direction occurs. I guess this one also counts. But, you know, an extreme can also be a storytelling key at the same time. If it's needed to understand the action and the impulses. So, yeah, that's basically it. We need anticipations and overshoots. And in case of the anticipation, I want this to be really... Actually, I think I want to have one more storytelling key. I want to have... I don't think I want to have an anticipation for the start of the head turn, because if the head turn starts sufficiently slow, it doesn't really need it. But I want to do something else cool here that will make her feel a lot more alive. I will, before she turns, already have her look over. So this is another impulse. This is like, now we are in reflex and acting territory. And for this one, let's switch on onion skin and almost exactly trace the previous pose, with one little difference. She's gonna look over. And maybe widens her eye just slightly. Maybe she lifts her eyebrow. We're gonna feel that out in a second. But first, let's trace the rest of her. And we can put some tension into her lips. Have them go up just slightly. Maybe it needs to be a little bit further up the eye. That's a pretty horrible drawing, though. Immediately, just by tracing, we lost so much personality that we previously had, because, you know, we traced it without really understanding the shape in this drawing. Like the worst is this line here. I need to make sure that we preserve this flow. I mean, it's not that important in the rough, because, you know, we're still gonna do a cleanup of these. Okay, so as I said, no anticipation for the start of the motion, because I want the motion to start quite slow, but we are going to do an overshoot for this one. So I make space between the next one and this one, and in between here we're gonna do the overshoot. And let's try to do this without onion skin. I think I need a rough positioning with onion skin. So we're gonna do this. The body and the hair. And now let's try it without. Okay. And obviously her hair is still following behind a lot. So maybe we have a little bit of a smear here. And maybe we pull her up and have her settle. That might be a little bit too much. And maybe she's just opening her eyes back up. Oh, I positioned this drawing in the wrong spot. It actually needs to be between... It needs to be before we settle into position B. It needs to be here, and then we settle into that one. Okay. This will hopefully have her sufficiently alive. I'm not so sharp on this shape down here. Let's see. Okay, let's see how that looks. We have a little bit of a three-dimensional tilt, which I really love. Let's try to up the tilt on this one, just to see how it looks. Guess we need to do it for this one too. To really have the overshoot. Okay. Now let's have a look at onion skin. Correct some of the shape. I do like that the shape is going more up in this one. This gives us like a little bit of a three-dimensional impression here. The freckles turn up a little bit on the top of the cheek. let's really settle on an eye shape here. I feel like those are kind of like undecisive. I did like some. Where's concept? Let's see, what eye shapes did I like? Guess I like these. Okay. Again, let's tie down the eyes a little bit because I feel like that's important for her design. Okay. Okay. Then again, I'm not sure we want to have an overshoot for anything else or an anticipation. Or I mean just cause. Let's put in an anticipation between these two, between this one where we settle, this is the storytelling key B, to going to C, and here we're gonna have a little bit of a drop before she goes in the other direction. You know, maybe because she's relaxing a little. So let's work with onion skin, but change the settings. Onion skin settings. Let's just see one cell for each. And let's have her drop down. Okay. Maybe she's closing her eyes here because she has a new thought. That's always good. Eye blinks on new new thoughts, new emotions. Always a good idea. Okay, yeah, the flow of these lines is horrible, but that's why we shouldn't rely too much on onion skin. Maria says, when I first started on OpenToon's Tahoma, onion skin did nothing but confuse and annoy me. Weirdly, I found that changing the green to blue made a big difference. Now it's a core tool for me. That's great to hear that you found a way to make it work. I think in the settings of OpenToon's you can change it, and in Clip Studio Paint you can change it too. I actually did change it to green. It was blue in Clip Studio Paint, but I guess it makes like. I also don't understand why red and green would be the default, because if you're colorblind, you're gonna have a hard time with that one. Let's try a more flowy one. Try to not follow the lines as precisely. Maybe I'm exaggerating it a little bit too much, but we're gonna see. Yeah, I think the hair needs to dip over. That's probably a good thing to try. Thank you, Hilly, for digging out the exact setting location. Now, if we have a three-dimensional tilt here, the ear could actually... No, I always make this mistake. The ear should go down. Okay. You should drop more. To really feel that compression here. Still not happy with this one. What's going on here? Okay, so we're gonna do the old I'm gonna cut this from somewhere else trick. Now this shape stays exactly the same because we took it from the previous frame. Okay. Yeah, finally, this is gonna work better. I like that this works a little bit like a squash. That makes a lot of sense for an anticipation to squash the body together. Yeah! The flipping doesn't feel as snappy as I would like it to feel, but yeah, it's gonna be okay. Okay, so we put an overshoot in here, and we put an anticipation in here. Let's do the lower area real quick. All right. Let's fill these real quick. Wonderful. Now the next important set of poses that we're going to put in are the breakdowns. Those gonna decide how do we get from a key or an extreme to the next key or extreme. Like, how do we get down here? How do we get up into the air? How do we get down after the jump? And that will really flesh out our motion a lot. So, how do we get from here to here? There's so many wonderful options. Generally, let's use onion skin. Generally, what you have during most head turns is actually a dip down. Let's save. Haley found the onion skin color setting in OpenToons. If anyone is interested in that, have a look in the chat. That's good to know. Okay, so what happens most of the time during these kinds of head turns is that the head will dip down. So you will kind of have something like this, where the head goes down and then back up again. Like that would be the most classic kind of most classic head turn would be a dip down. Depending on the character, it could also be a dip up. And maybe she is like sassy enough that we can have a dip up. Oh, that was in Clip Studio. I see. Yeah, in Clip Studio it's an yeah. In Clip Studio it's a bit weird. Show animation cells. That's a weird place for them to be in. Okay, So maybe we can get away with her dipping her head up. And maybe it's tilting backwards instead of having it right in the middle. Like, what you shouldn't do is just draw in the middle and be like, okay, like the nose should be here, the eye should be here, the hair should be here. Then you get like the most boring kind of breakdowns. You kind of want to do something fun and interesting in the middle of your animation. And I want to try how it looks to have her kind of tilt the head a little bit. And we have our eyes closed, like that's something that usually happens when we have a fast head motion. Let's see how that works. So I want her to have like a little bit of a swift feeling. Interesting, but I think we're trying to be too original here. So let's try it with a dip down. Go more classic. But maybe have her tilted already in the direction of the where she's gonna end up in, so she's like kind of popping into that position. And we kind of see the top of her head, so we would see a little bit more of the hair. And you know, this is the thing that will give your animation a lot of flavor, depending on how you do these breakdowns. Depending on how you do these breakdowns, you know, she could be tilting here, she could be perfectly straight, she could go really far down. There are all kinds of different possibilities for a motion like this. And if you're just starting with animation, you should probably try a bunch to find which one feels good for your character. I have no idea how her nose looks in profile. Okay. Yeah, we're getting there. Making sure that her freckles sit on this top part of the cheek. I can actually zoom in a little bit for you all so you can see it a little better. Okay. And that was like the most important breakdown of this head turn. The second important one is going from this one to that one. From the anticipation of the take of the reaction to the leaned back, hey, nice to see you kind of pose. Let's onion skin help us again. Now let's turn this one. We really have her head dip to one side, to the right. Because, you know, the head is relatively heavy, and if you whip it around, if you whip around that quickly, your head might not be able to keep up immediately. And I guess we still have her eyes closed at that point. Maybe some pressure on the lips that wasn't there before. And this time the hair is pressing against the body. Are we dipping down again? I think we could be dipping down again to really have her pop the head up. And maybe the shoulders are dipping a little bit up. And these kind of things are kind of interesting because with her dragging up her shoulders, we now have an extreme, we have a key for the shoulders that we didn't previously have. Hello, Hatim. So let's see how that works, flipping through. Yeah, I think that works. I like that shift in angle. It's almost like we see more of the underside of her. I guess the hair would be more here. Hatim asks, what's your advice for beginner in animation? Practice the basics. Actually do the bouncing ball. Do not just read about it or watch tutorials about it. Actually do it. And then learn a good workflow. Like the workflow that we're doing right now, for example. Okay. Now, for this anticipation, I don't think we're gonna have a breakdown. That has to do with how I plan to do the timing for this one. but we're gonna talk about that in a little bit. Yeah, flipping through it, I think we have some really cool poses and some good anticipations and overshoots. Then next, we're gonna do the timing. But before we do that, let me tell you that if you want to support me to make more tutorials and more live streams, you can do so on our Patreon over at patreon.com/animatorisland. Any cent that people give to me there is put right into buying time for me to make more content, more tutorials, more live streams here on Animator Island. Yeah, I have big stuff planned. I want to continue, of course, the 2D animation class, but I also want to start more 3D stuff. We're gonna have a look in Blender, not only for 3D animation, but also 2D animation. And yeah, if you want to see more of my content, you can support me over there on patreon.com/animatorisland. Other stuff that we have, we have the group mentoring. If you join Patreon in the group mentoring tier, you can join a live group mentoring session every single month. We come together, you can show whatever you're currently working on. That can be an animation, it can be a character design, a story idea, an animatic, and I will give you my input. I will draw over it, annotate it, give you tips and tricks on how to make it better, how to improve it, not only your current project, but also how to improve your art skills, your animation skills in general. We can really think about a strategy, how to build your skills. And you know, because it's monthly, it's good for people who procrastinate, because you will have this fixed deadline every single month where you need to present something in the group, or you don't have to, you can also just ask questions. But yeah, so that's the group mentoring. And that's the group mentoring tier over on Patreon. I'm gonna do a quick break. I'm gonna be back in a couple minutes, and then we're gonna do the timing, which will lead right into in-betweening. And yeah, I'm excited to dive into that with you today, and see you in a little bit. Okay, so we're back. Need to switch the volume lower. One day I'm gonna have all of this automated and I can just press some buttons and have the music fade out. Stuff like that. But today is not that day. So, what do we have? We have the turn. And then we go here. So, oh god, okay, so when I flip I need to stop here and then go there, okay. Okay, now let's do timing for this. And I like to do that on a new layer. Where is the... So, you can see everything. Where is my... messages? Okay. Now, let's do timing. I'm gonna add a new animation folder on top of the other one, and we're gonna start by planning our timing. How do we get from here, well actually from this one to here? So, since we do not have an anticipation, we're gonna do it relatively slow. We're gonna start relatively slow. And to plan that, I'm gonna just write my timing chart here. Oh, yeah, I have created one, but I haven't put it on the timeline. Put it here. It's starting here. And we're gonna animate everything on 2s. So I have to decide if I want to put the frame numbers in or the drawing numbers. Since I think I'm gonna animate. No, I think it might be confusing if I start using drawing numbers. So let's just give the first pose a couple frames to be seen. And one way how I really like to feel out timing is by just pressing play and trying to feel when something new should happen. And I think we can give this a good almost a second. Why not give this like at frame 19, I'm gonna put the next one in, which is gonna be the one where the eye darts over to the other side. So if I press play, and I'm only trying to feel where the motion starts. We're gonna stop doing this immediately when I feel like, okay, this is where the motion should start. I feel like it should start at frame 29. So this is where I'm going to place my timing chart, because from here on I'm gonna plan my motion with a timing chart, or at least the first section of the motion. And let's see, so we are here at frame 29. At frame 29, and we're gonna end at some point, and that's gonna be the overshoot that we're going into. We already have the breakdown. The breakdown is gonna be in the middle here, and this is like almost exactly the exact half of that motion. Now, I'm going to continue with the halving method. I'm going to halve the beginning of this a couple times to have a motion starting slow and getting faster and faster by the spacings being bigger and bigger. And this is represented by these halved distances. And I'm gonna plan also something for the rest of this motion. I think it's gonna be like this. So we have this side of the motion halved one more time than the other side, which means that the motion starts slower than it ends. Like it cushions a little bit quicker into the overshoot position, which is okay because it's an overshoot and we're gonna have it settle after the overshoot. So we have a very slow start, or at least a start that is slower than the end of the motion. And now we can count what that means in frame numbers. So this would be on 2s, 31, 33, 35, 37 is our in-between, our breakdown. This is the one that we already drew. Next we have 39, 41, and 43. This is where our motion ends. So we can already place the frames that we've already drawn. We can place the breakdown on 37 and the overshoot on 43. And if we play this, we can already kinda feel how that will feel. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna get a more of a feeling for it as we are continuing this. I think I want to jump into the next one. So 43 is the ending of that motion, and from 43 we're gonna go into the next motion, which is coming out of this overshoot into the settled position. And to do that, we're gonna need a new timing chart. So on the timing chart layer, I'm gonna add a new drawing. This time the beginning is 43. This is where we just ended in the overshoot. And then I want this to be kind of snappy, so let's just give this favorings. I think that could work. So we draw one where we favor frame 43, would be frame 45. 47 would be one that favors the next one, which is 49. So we're gonna end at 49. And now we can play this and see how that works. Yeah, I think that's going to work. Let's play it. I think it's sufficiently snappy at the end. Yeah. Setsuba says interesting process. Yeah, I for like the longest time I was just kind of like trying to feel out timings and stuff, and when I realized like you kind of always wanted to fall in this logic, and especially if you're using the halving method, I really like this process because it takes me from guessing where timings have to be to constructing the timings. And I think that makes animation a whole lot easier. Yeah, and the way how in-betweening works in the case of the first one here is we would just go in between ones. We already have the frame in between 29 and 43. The middle of it is 37. So because we already have 29 and 37, we can now do 35. And what's going to give us the ease is we're going to draw in the middle of it, but there are a whole lot more frames to come on that side that will make it, give it a softer start. And here we don't have any additional frames. What is my cat doing? I think my cat went into a box somewhere, because I just hear scratching. Rainbow, what you doing? I gotta have to check on my cat. Just a second. Rainbow, you okay? Okay. This is a time where I usually let her out, where we let her out in our garden. But she brought in a couple mice in the last couple months, and yeah, that was very messy. So we only let her out now, or let her back in supervised, and check if she's bringing in a mouse. Because I don't want to clean that up again. Okay, where were we? We're now gonna draw 35. And on the timeline, you can see that 35 is a lot closer. It's right next to 37. And this is ultimately what will create the slow out effect. Okay, so we create a new drawing here. And now, since this is in-betweening, we can be relatively careless. I'm just noticing that I might want to try to squeeze her a little bit more. To really get like a little bit of a curve here, because if we track her nose, it's a very flat arc. But you know, sometimes that's okay. So, and the way to test things, excuse me, if I am not sure if this is the timing that I want, what I would do the first time around is I would just trace the head, for example, just to see if this is working out how I want it to work out. So we have her eyes closing, just looking over there. Eyebrows coming down, hair following. That's not my strongest in between. All right. Now that we have drawn 35, you know, which is in the middle of 37 and 29, we can draw 33, which is in the middle of 29 and 35. So we go to 33, make a new drawing. And it's in between these two. Now we can just put it in the middle. Okay. Eyebrows are relatively far up here. And we're kinda in the middle here. Now Rainbow's coming to visit us. Rainbow, you wanna be on a live stream? Want to say hello to the people? No? Okay. Bye. And once again, we're going in between 33 and 29. There's 31. And this can be very close to the first one. There we go. Okay, these are not my best in-betweens. But you know, we have a chance to correct everything when we do the cleanup. Yeah, I think this is gonna work better. Okay. Now we can already watch that part of the animation. That first little ease. And I'm afraid we're gonna need another one. But that's okay. we can just add it at the top of this. So I would put in one more. This is going to be 29, and we're going to shift this one over. So it's going to be 27. We start the motion a little bit earlier. So here at 29, we're going to do our new start of the motion. And this time we're going to heavily favor the red lines. To have a really nice slow in. And to give the brain a little bit more of a hint of where everything is going to move in just a little bit. Okay. There's barely any motion in the body, which I think is okay to have a little bit of an offset. That the head is moving before the body makes a lot of sense. This eye doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay. Does that work? I think so. Yeah, I like that we put that little bit of this little extra frame to ease in there. What's up, Healy? Okay, so how do we get from 37 to 43? We're going to put in 39, which is in the middle of the whole spiel. And of course, it's getting a lot more rounder to the right side than it is to the left. So we are going over. We're gonna fit in a little bit more of like a three-dimensional tilt here. Let's keep the eyes closed for a couple frames. See how that feels. So this ear is gonna come out there. This ear is gonna vanish. there we have the rest of the body following. Okay. Now 41 is of course in the middle again, between 39 and 43. Here we can have the eyes opening. Let's make sure we have space for the ear. Okay. Here. And that's it. We reached it there. Maybe that overshoot is a bit too strong. But why not? Let's add the saddle. Okay, so this one doesn't work with the halving method. Instead, we're going to always going to go and favor one of the frames. So in this case, we are favoring the red lines on frame 45. We have everything being much closer to 43. So we have everything being very close to the red lines. I would only recommend doing this for motions that do not have a strong or important arc. Because you know, the breakdown is missing and the breakdown cannot do its job, which is helping us see where the arc is because there's no breakdown. So that is usually something for more subtle motions or quick motions or motions that go in a straight line. So yeah, and here we have the hair is gonna slide a little bit. So why not have the hair overshoot a frame later? Have it overshoot the position. And that is going to look a little more interesting if we have something different going on with the hair. Okay. We're doing very complete drawings already. I was not planning on doing that at this stage, but somehow I'm caught in the flow. Okay, now for 47, we're gonna do a drawing that's much closer to 49, which is here. Almost at the green line. Actually, you know, for the body, we could already hit that exactly if we wanted to. And this will have the body kind of settle before the head. And it's gonna make it nice and cushiony. That little overshoot here, or maybe a little bit too much of an overshoot. We'll see. And we have the hair maybe settle. Ooh, this is gonna morph the side of the head. Like what's going on here, that big spacing. There's big spacing here and no big spacing here. That might look a bit morphy. But we'll see. Yeah, we might want to add an overshoot on the hair, an offset on the hair. But other than that, I'm quite happy with it. I think it looks quite three-dimensional. Yeah, I think it's coming together. And then we have a little bit of a beat before we start the next motion. I would guess around frame 57 maybe? And then after 57, can move it back. Let's make sure I can see the chat. Sometimes I wonder if my chat is still updating because I haven't seen a message yet, but okay, no, it all seems to be working. Okay, so 57, this is where I draw in my next timing chart. And I'm gonna plan, let's see, 57. We're going into an anticipation, and I think the anticipation is another one of these. So 59, 61, 63. So this is gonna be on 63. And then from here, hello Dylan, Dylan, nice to see you. So from here, 63, we're gonna go into the second hold position, and this is gonna be, we already have the breakdown, we've already planned the breakdown before, so we're definitely gonna have that. And then I think we're gonna put in an ease, like the most simple shape of an ease that we can have. Maybe learning from what we previously had, I would put one extra here. So this would be 63, 65, 67, 69. Then 71, 73, 75, 77 would be the end of our motion. We already have the breakdown. We can put the breakdown on frame 69. Or 69. And this one on frame 77 is the end of our motion. Here we go. So if we play this, we have the timing already, and I think I'm quite happy with it. Yeah, I think this will do it. This will come together. Yes, I am animating ahead. And actually, this whole live stream is gonna be... we're gonna conclude this animation. We're not gonna do the cleanup, I think. We're just gonna do the scribble. But we're gonna have all the frames, which I think is going to be pretty cool. So let's follow our guide. On 59, we are going to put in a favoring of 57. You know, this is what this timing chart means. We're favoring 59 is favoring 57. Putting in a new animation cell, and yeah, this time we're gonna use onion skin. There is, you know, I'm using onion skin the entire time right now, but there also is some oh my god, drawing and talking at the same time. How do I not get better at this? There's definitely a possibility to do this with flipping. And usually if you flip instead of seeing the onion skin, if you just flip back and forth between the frames, you will get the more dynamic animation. But this is quicker now, so we're gonna do it like this. Actually, you know, the hair should be staying in place, the tips of the hair, because of the follow-through. The drag, actually. This would be the drag, and then when they overshoot, like, that's the follow-through. So the tips stay in place, and the rest is already coming down. So okay. Body could still stay stationary because the head is leading the motion and there's not much happening in the other frame. So we can just keep the body in place for now. And then for 61, we're gonna favor the... We're gonna favor the next one, the green lines this time. The rest of the body stays static. Did we talk about the body staying there? I think that's a pretty good decision, because then, you know, this is only a subtle drop, but we have most of it happening in the neck and the neck and the head itself. So I think that's pretty good. It's gonna give us a nice dynamic animation. Yeah, you know, you often have it that the body stays in there, in the position, and the head does a couple of frames first before the head start moving. No, other way around. The head starts moving a couple frames before the body starts moving. You have that with arms a lot too. The high art, the big problem is that, you know, everything is attached. So sometimes you need to find a way to, you know, sometimes it's the other way around. If there's like a big action pose, like a punch or something, it could be that we throw the elbow and the whole shoulder area in front to start the motion. But then we... the head is still attached, and it does lag behind, but it is still attached, and that is sometimes very difficult to balance all of these, like what is leading the motion, what is starting the motion, what is going first, what is following after. So the timing charts for other body parts might all be shifted a little bit. Like, you know, they might have the same pattern, but, you know, maybe the body starts moving at 59 and then has everything one frame shifted over, so it ends at 65. So the body would have a different timing chart. But fortunately, we only have the head to animate today. Okay, so that should look fine. Okay, the eye closes a little bit too quickly, but yeah, maybe it's going to be more interesting if we have the eye relatively far open here, despite the favoring. This is kind of going a little bit against the favoring, because we will have the eyes closer to how it was before, and maybe the eyebrows as well. And just have the eye starting to close here. So let's see how that works. Yeah, that feels better. Because the eye is gonna be closed for the breakdown as well. Ray or Raji Mohan asks, when do I use thirds and even half timing in animation? So I personally, I use thirds so much. Like, I would even nudge this one. I would probably usually on the job, I would make this a favoring very often, because I like it when it has this punch that, you know, it starts softer and then it increases. I like that as a stylistic choice, and I sometimes sneak it into other projects. But most of the time in a professional production environment, you would be halving. Like, all of these here are halved. Half, half, half. And same over here. This is the half of that one. that one, and this should be the half of that one. Like, that's how it would be in a professional 2D animation production, like a feature film. They would very often do it like that. Okay, so which one we are doing now? We are between 63 and 69. I'm gonna put I'm gonna put 67. All right, new drawing. I do like to use favorings a lot. Like, I would do this a lot of the times. Favor this one, have the breakdown in the middle. Mwah, I love that. Because it's like the perfect combination from snappy to, you know, it has softness in the beginning and the end, but then you have that big spacing in the middle. But I have animation supervisors told me to not do it like that. So what are we on? 67? Boy. Okay. Gonna be in the middle. Because, you know, with this one, you can just always go in the middle of frames. And even if you're doing a relatively bad job of keeping volumes and stuff, then it's still gonna look pleasing from the point of the just from the point of the motion. So let's squeeze her eyelids a little tighter shut, so we have something happening here, and we're not just doing the boring middle for everything. Have this hair peek out a little bit. Maybe that's also giving us some interest, some points of interest. And there we have a little bit of a drag. The body is already further. That's because we had a breakdown that was tilting in that direction, and now we have the situation that the body is moving faster, just because we did that tilt in the breakdown. So that's pretty cool. Alright, so let's go between 67 and 63. And on 65, we really have the motion starting to speed up. Yeah, this is a case where I would do a little bit of a favoring. Okay, and since we had this hair sticking out like that, we have to keep that going in the drawing that we already did. This is gonna be quite nice, I think. Dylan says, I'm an animator, cartoonist, character designer, and voice actor. Yeah, that's... I think a lot of us are wearing a lot of hats. I love doing voice acting, for example, for my own characters and stuff. That's pretty cool. And are you working on your own projects, or are you doing mostly client work? I'm trying to do a lot more of my own projects soon. Oh, actually what we're doing, we're holding the body. The body is moving later. Really starting to move here. Okay. Now how do we get from 69 onward? I'm gonna do 71, which is the middle of 69 and 77 on our timing chart. And yeah, that's an interesting one because we have the curve reversing. This is almost like a second breakdown because we really deciding how this arc's gonna be here. You know, the position of the nose is gonna be a guiding point for this arc. And how we open the mouth. You know what? Let's do an overshoot for the mouth. Let's do it. Are we doing it already here? Yeah, I think we're already doing it here. And then we can come back from the overshoot. I think that could be nice. The freckles as the anchor here, and then we have her eyes spring open over the next couple of frames, being held back maybe here. Working backwards from the timesheet is something to get used to. Yeah, certainly. I did confuse it for a second on the way back. Like, this is easier because now we're going in the correct order. But now we can do what I said and already hit the body as closely as possible. And the next one, we already have the body there. So we have the body being a little bit faster than the head. Let's see if that will work out for us. That ear's dipping down too far. Have it coming from above. Dylan says, I'm making my cartoon show called The Toonies. New short called Sunny Tunes coming next summer. Nice, good luck with that. Good luck with production. My name is Ferdinand. That's really like working on your own show. I really want to dive into making more of my own projects soon. And when I do, I'm gonna, of course, live stream when I animate. And invite you behind the scenes. Okay, so we got 71 taken care of. Now 73 is in the middle of these two. And Dylan, are you working in puppet animation or is it hand drawn? Okay, finding middle here. There's gonna be a couple odd shapes. I'm losing focus. Bean shape might not be as perfect as it should be for these last couple of frames. Okay, let's really punch that overshoot and have that go in later. Hand-drawn animation, that's cool. It's my favorite kind of animation. Okay, body we already nail in place. Just redrawing the same position. And last ease frame, 75. You know what? Let's do a favoring. Sneak in a favoring. Okay. And doing the round cheek. Oh, the character doesn't have a name yet. We should give her a name. We just came up with her for the live stream, and you're right, it's a shame that we didn't give her a name immediately. Name actually helps so much nailing down the character traits and stuff. Any suggestions in the chat? We do have a little bit of more floats in these last couple frames. She's a bit of an NB girl. I think an AFAB. So she would probably have a female name. Okay, let's watch the whole thing. I love the snappy, the mouth That we have the mouth snap open during the motion, I think was a really good decision. How about Riley? Let's switch off the timing chart so the timing chart is not. Or Nikki. Nikki is nice because, you know, it could be both a male and female name. Which I think a more NB character like her might gravitate towards. Dawn as in hand drawn. I like that. Oh, we have some timing charts here. Did we forget the nose? We forgot the nose! How could we forget the nose? And there were some timing charts that I want to get rid of there. Cleaning it up a little bit. And then we can play. And I think we have a pretty decent animation. I think not bad for a live stream. Yeah. We need to add the freckles in a couple spots, but I think other than that, this is a pretty good result. I'm pretty happy with this. You know, sometimes doing animation live is a little bit dangerous because, you know, of the talking at the same time, you don't really know how it's gonna turn out. But, yeah. I think it's quite decent, and I hope I could give you guys some insight on my workflow and how I do the planning, and yeah, how I organize my animation to have everything as controlled and productive as possible. Yeah, so I hope that this was helpful. If you like what I'm doing here, once again, let me tell you about Patreon. On patreon.com/animatorisland you can support us, and yeah, any cent will help me to make more live streams, make more tutorials, and yeah, hopefully I will have some more benefits next year for the standard Patreon membership. And then another thing that we have on Patreon is the group mentoring. You can check out more about that on animatorisland.com/group mentoring. It's a monthly group mentoring session where you can bring whatever you're currently working on, a character animation, animatic, a story, and I can give you my input on how I think it could be improved. And yeah, my cat is going crazy. She really wants to go out. So I'm in the middle of doing a bit here, Rainbow. I'm gonna come over in a little bit. So yeah, that's group mentoring. It's also great if you need a little bit of like accountability to have an appointment every single month to which you want to show your current work in progress. Then the Rainbow, what are you doing? Oh wow. Yeah, anyway, group mentoring. We have a bunch of people there already who I think work on some pretty amazing projects. And it's pretty good to see how that all progresses, and also to see the projects of the others, and to you know, just have a discussion about that craft that we love. Rainbow is my cat. She's a little gray cat, but she has a colorful soul. Yeah, I do love Disney's. Of course, I love Disney films. That's you know, one of the things that got me into animation, like so many others. Um, yeah, so I hope this was helpful, and I had a great time as always with all of you in the chat, and I think we really managed to do a pretty cool result. And yeah, we should do something like this more often, I think. And we will, because I'm currently concluding another big project. And then I hopefully have a lot more time for Animator Island and doing cool stuff here on the channel. Yeah, so I hope all of you are doing good. And that's great. Hilly was also doing some frames in Clip Studio Paint. That is great. Oh, we didn't even use the light table in Clip Studio Paint. I really like how it works, but I guess we didn't really need it. The way how we work today, the onion skin really was enough the whole time, so that's pretty good. Yeah, okay. Thank you all so very much for watching. I had a great time. Good luck with your own projects and your own work, and I'm looking forward to the next live stream with all of you. Have a great day, evening, night, whatever it is in your part of the world, and see you soon. Bye bye.